Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Meringer Family Foundation, and these friends. Today, we will continue our discussion on the state of the restaurant business. My guests include restaurateur Drew Nieporent, Chef David Burke, and Chef Michael Lomonaco. All of you were also in the catering business. The catering business has been affected over here. How do you see the
decimated?
We see the catering? I know, Michael, you've been running catering out of your two restaurants. David, you've always had the David Burke, and Drew, you've been doing it from Batard, from Nobu and everything.
We do a tremendous amount of catering. Every single party has been canceled.
We're talking about in-house.
In-house.
Not off premises, right? In-house. Absolutely. Everyone can't. They were canceling 10 days before the shutdown of the restaurants. They was beginning to cancel. At the beginning of March, people were canceling events. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
What about off-premises catering? Had you been in that either, any of you?
I do some off-premise catering, and I mean, people aren't booking parties. They can't gather. You can't have a gathering. So it's I mean, you can deliver some food, but you can't. People can't have a party. You have to social distance. So that's a tough. That business has been sidelined, and the business, the wedding business, forget it. The wedding and all the bar mitzvahs and all that business has been sidelined. So they're postponing, and maybe not, they're canceling for now, but they're postponing. And then you try to tell a bride she's getting married on a Monday in October, not on Saturday in the summer, and you got your hands full. So there's only so many dates left that you can rebook on a weekend, for the rest of the year. So there's deposits. There's it's part of what's going on there. They'll have to find a slot for that party sometime, or they're going to have to wait a year.
David, you operate in hotels. How do you see the hotels resuming later on with the fine dining, with restaurant owners like you? I know at the TWA hotel at the airport, John George is over there and a couple of other. How do you see these restaurants at the hotels and or at the airports in the future?
Well, I think hotels have a lot of space. They have much more space usually than restaurants. So I think there's an opportunity to, maybe you have to divide your dining rooms up into smaller sections, and you can, depending on how we come out of this. But hotels, again, they have to be clean. If I'm going to a hotel, I want to know that room is, how was it clean? Someone else was in there before me. There's a lot of unanswered questions about traveling and where you're going to sleep for now, anyway. And hotel business, from a restaurant standpoint, I think the hotels right now, any chef with a good brand, a restaurateur as a good operator, is in a good position to go into a hotel and take over the restaurants. They're going to need all the help they can get to start driving tourism and business. And a lot of that sometimes relies on the publicity of having a good restaurant.
We were talking before about the government assistance program, the Paycheck Protection Program. All of you have applied for your different restaurants and operations?
Yes.
Okay, but part of the rules is that you have to use 75% of the funds for payroll. It's going to take time to add payroll back. It has to be, they want you to return the payroll as it was before. How do you do that under the current Paycheck Protection Program?
Well, I think the idea, like I said, if you get, no one's really gotten their money yet. So if we get the money in 2 weeks, we can, and if we get the money and it coincides with when we can open, it gives us a cushion to bring back as many people as we need and even overstaff to get things going. I don't think we're ever going to get back to we're not immediately going to get back to the same payroll we had. And if not, that means you have extra cash, you can pay back the loan, or you can, whatever it is. But at least there's insurance money to make sure you can get done with what you want to get done with. In fact, if we get the cash. Right now, I've been dealing with one bank, and I had to go elsewhere because I couldn't get through. And they're a week behind schedule from when they reported they'd be ready. And so there's frustration out there. But frustration is fear. And, I'll believe it when I see it, when the cash is in hand. But until then, we're all sitting here wondering what our livelihoods are going to be like in the future.
Okay, in a similar manner to the program that you created, Michael, years ago at the Windows of the World, after 9/11, and something that David's working on today with his program in New Jersey, how do you see the country or the government or anyone working on a program to support all of these workers who work in the restaurants, who the middle America people who are difficult paying their rent, paying their living expenses? Do you see any programs out there? Or do you hope that in the same way that the restaurant business has always been out there for helping the community, City Harvest, Meals on Wheels, and everything else, do you see any programs that you guys would go into and other restaurateurs and the government to help the working people? I mean, the people who worked in your restaurants. I mean, the bartenders, everybody, they don't have savings.
Well, I think what you're, I'm not sure if what you're asking is entirely analogous, but I mean, after 9/11, we set up a foundation to help the families of people who had lost family members at the World Trade Center and who were in the food service business. They worked at Windows, or they worked at even serving coffee in a law firm. So that's a different. Now we have a vast amount of people who are suddenly without a job, and there are different grassroots fundraisers. Some individual restaurants have been doing things to try to raise funds for their employees, but that's kind of a tricky thing. Other people have set up nonprofits to do that. There are larger groups through the James Beard Foundation who's helping to create a larger fund for a larger group of people. That's different than serving just one restaurant's needs, but serving many people. And I think that the leaders in the industry, in the restaurant industry, are trying to figure out, they would jump in to try to fundraise, but then try to figure out how to actually distribute it and what fair way to be able to do that. So I don't have a really good answer. I think that there are a lot of different programs that are out there. Some are individual, but there are larger programs, and that the National Restaurant Association has teamed up with people like Guy Fieri to try to raise money. Now that's actually the potential for being a large program to help individuals with maybe grants to help them get by. So, but also, you know, we realize that people have now are collecting unemployment, and the federal funds to supplement unemployment. I think it's a 3-month program that they set up in that stimulus package to supplement people's people's unemployment. Those are positive things. I just don't think there's been enough communication about it, and the details are so difficult for people to understand. I think that people are trying to decipher it all to be able to give it a concise package of information to all of us, so that we can even disseminate that information to those of us who work with us.
Something that you've always discussed with me on my shows over the past is that people wanted to go into the restaurant business. It was sexy, it was interesting. A young chef would open up, you know, in Brooklyn and so on. After this crisis over here, what do you think is going to happen with people wanting to be a restaurant owner? Drew? I mean, you've been 35 years now.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe generationally, there'll come a moment in time when the health aspects of this whole thing are clearer to us. That going to work doesn't mean you're jeopardizing your life, or eating out in a restaurant doesn't mean you're jeopardizing your life. And in that case, then, you know, I imagine you can find the joie de vivre in opening a restaurant. But you know, there's something that, you know, it started with something, you know, very simple, and over the last, let's just say, 100 years, we've refined it, and we've upgraded it, and we've made it, you know, like a cultural, you know, it's a moment in New York lifestyle. The restaurants are fantastic, all different types, and we don't know how it's going to come back. We just have no clue if it can come back to that moment. You know, what seems to work is, you know, the restaurants that stayed open to do takeout and delivery, tremendous. They're jeopardizing their life when they jump on the subway to show up for work. But you know, people enjoy those restaurants. But think about our restaurants, Michael and David and myself. You know, we have $20 appetizers, and we have $30 entrees, or more expensive. It's hard to put that into a box, you know, and ring a bell and say, you know, come and get it. I mean, nobody wants to take that out. So, you know, the sexy nature of the restaurant business, it'll be totally redefined when we try to get back open. We have no idea what's going to happen.
So do you think there'll be more casual, casual restaurants in the future, as opposed to white tablecloth restaurants?
Yes,
well, that's been the trend, right, Drew? That's been the trend.
That's been the trend. I mean, look, if you're going to go spend $330 at 11 Madison Park, you know, it's going to be a big deal meal. And, you know, but I guess they were doing fantastic. But can you imagine going out and spending that kind of money after this? I mean, it's insane. So I just can't fathom that people will spend that money for that kind of an experience.
But dining has gotten, but dining has it's gotten more casual over the last 15 years. There's been a huge growth of restaurants. You might call them sexy, as you did, but I think what you're talking about is a business and a creative craft. And the creative craft is the great restaurant owner, the great showman who stands in the front, who books a room, like Drew, who runs a room. That's creative. The business side of Drew is another aspect of what the business is about. So I think it's an alluring business for chefs who are creative. The urge for creativity never goes away. The urge for creativity never goes away. And the truly creative aspect of all of this is how people reinvent or invent themselves into any sort of creative aspect, how they make themselves into that person they want to be. So I think that people will learn from all of this, and and take the lessons and do what has to be done, and we'll adapt as an industry. But the creative aspect of it is one of the great lures of what the business is. And David is one of the most creative guys I know. David has been creative since the day he was born into the kitchen. So, you couldn't stop David from being creative. And he's telling us he's going to be creative in, on the other side of the Hudson River in New Jersey. Well, he's still going to be doing it. I think that this business is a great business for so many people, and they figure out how to make it work.
Where do you see, none of you operate in Times Square, but Times Square restaurants have always they've had the highest grossing revenue, like Applebee's, the highest grossing Applebee's in the world over there. What do you see with regard to the restaurants in Times Square, Broadway, near other venues in the future, basically because of the fear factor, which is the deserving having a fear factor because what's happening?
Well, the rents in Times Square are phenomenal. So I mean, I think a lot of those restaurants or the chains that are in Times Square, it's part of its marketing budget. I'm sure if you're doing $20 million and you're paying a 10% rent, or like Bluefin used to years ago, I mean, you pay like Drew said, a percentage is a percentage. And then with the wages that were there, you could do that much money in a restaurant in Times Square and not make any. And without the volume, you're up the creek. I think those type of places that rely on tourism everything's risky. Our business has always been risky, and now it's even riskier. There's no safety net in the restaurant business. There's no pension. There's no retirement plans. There's nothing for the hardworking guy or girl who spends 40 years in the restaurant business, top of their game, and all of a sudden gets knocked out, and you're not set for life. So I think the young students going to schools these days, they need to be aware of that. You want to be a renegade? You want to be in the restaurant business? You want to be, a creative monster and live with less rules than a corporate office? That's fine, but the consequences are when the shit hits the fan, there's nothing to land on. And that's what the restaurant business is built up of. The renegades and the misfits and all the creative people that love the lifestyle of it, and I'm one of them. We get energy from that. We work on adrenaline and we work on optimism. And when the optimism is taken away or it's unsure like it is right now, and you can't use your adrenaline to get going, you're really stuck. So I think I would be very honest with young people that ask me my opinion of getting in the restaurant business for the future.
Michael?
Well, no, I think David said it very well. We're all in an era, an age of the complete unknown. This is a completely unknown problem. We have no solutions apparent to us. We're relying on the scientific community to tell us how to live day by day right now, and we're relying on them to solve this problem. And whether it's and really even to help us solve the problem by giving us the kind of testing that we need on a large scale with 330 million people. I think that what you hear so much of the scientific community saying is that we need to test as many people as possible to know. I mean, we're all living day by day right now, and that gives us that degree of uncertainty until we start to get some answers. We're waiting for answers. We don't have the answers to what happens next.
So I think in summation, I think it's a tough world to be in the restaurant business. All of you have been in it your entire careers. I think we've given some insight to the people listening in, and I'd like to only wish everybody the best of success when they reopen. And I know everybody is going to reopen at different levels. And I'd like to thank Drew, Michael, and David, and thanks to AmTrust Title, Steve Napolitano, Senior Executive Vice President. And we'll have more webinars in the near future. This is Mike Stoller.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Nice to see you guys.
See you guys.
All the best,
Hope
guys.
to see you in person soon.